Recently, I've been playing and replaying a lot of open world titles. For most people, the worlds these games offer are one of the main reasons to dive in. The act of discovering an unknown land and having the freedom to go wherever you wish is often exactly what people are looking for, and it's why open world games tend to be so highly praised and fondly remembered. A big part of what makes these games enjoyable is how immersed you feel in the world you're exploring. When we think about immersion, we often associate it with realism. How closely does this world resemble reality? How accurate are the sounds of nature? And do the physics feel believable? While realism can certainly support immersion, I like to think of it more as a mimicry of the immersion that we already have in our own reality. For me, immersion is not so much about realism, but rather cohesion. As if you think about it, a stylized game can often be more immersive than a realistic one. I believe that it's the combination of many qualities that all complement each other that leads to the creation of a world you can truly get lost in. At the end of the day, to me, immersion is about having a sense of presence in a game's world. That brings me to the purpose of this video. Today, I want to talk about some of these qualities that make up an immersive world that really stood out to me as interesting and worth appreciating. And so I figured, why not share them all with you? With that, let's go ahead and get started. Timestamps will be in the description for any who might want them. To start, I want to look at some of the smaller details and then work my way up to the bigger ideas. When a world truly pulls you in, it's often not just because of the sweeping landscapes or big landmarks, it's the small details that make it feel real, lived in, and human. These are the things that most players might not always consciously notice, but they quietly build up a sense of presence and connection. A lot of the time, a game will try to immerse you in its world by not only adding qualities that will pull you in, but also by making sure it prevents distractions that might pull you out. Ghost of Tsushima implements what has to be one of my favorite ways of preventing the loss of immersion, and that is through its user interface. Any bit of information you have can be shown to you when you need it, but for the most part, your screen will be completely free of any information at all without the need to switch your UI to another mode. Your health bar and relevant information will be displayed when you're in combat, but when you're just walking around, it really helps to take in everything the world has to offer when your screen shows nothing but the world itself. This is not a feature that is exclusive to Ghost of Tsushima, but I think it was just implemented best in this game. Elden Ring also has an auto feature that will remove most but not all of the UI when out of combat. But again, this is not the default option, and it still leaves some features like the compass on the screen. Yes, it can be a small detail, but it certainly makes a difference when looking at the immersion a game provides. A quality that is more unique to Ghost of Tsushima that no game has replicated quite yet is how the game leads you to your objective. Every game needs a way to mark locations on the map or provide the player with guidance and direction, as again these worlds are massive, and while a big part of the immersion is gained from discovering the world yourself, sometimes we all need a bit of direction, and I think we can all agree that the games all benefit from having it. The problem I often have with these methods of providing direction is that they really do take away from the world. Most of the time it's glowing dots on a minimap, and other times it's massive pillars in the distance. Even things as small as a little arrow pointing to where you need to go can be distracting, and again take away from the immersion that the game provides. Ghost of Tsushima fixed this issue in such a perfect way that I have yet to see a better solution. The way that this title shows you to your desired destination is through the wind. It is a beautifully subtle way that pairs so well with the lack of UI on your screen that it just completes the whole package. If you are lost, just look at the grass and you will instantly know where to go next. And it's not like there's always a tornado approaching with the wind constantly blowing. Normally, it's a very subtle detail that you actively need to look for. And if you need a more obvious pointer in the right direction, a quick swipe on the touchpad and a big gust will lead you right where you need to go. It might seem like a weird detail for me to be so obsessed about, but to this day it is my favorite aspect the game features, and it really goes to show that we don't have to have either practical information or an uninterrupted experience. We can have both. Another small detail that can really help me feel immersed in the world is what I like to call meaningless tasks. Yes, depending on how you look at it, everything you do in a game has meaning, but what I'm referring to is activities and tasks that are normally not seen as exciting or what you would normally play a game to experience. And I think the best title to look at to explain what I mean is Persona 5. Really, any game in the Persona series would work, but Persona 5 is the most recent one and also my favorite, so it's the one I chose. In this game, you play as a high school student who also happens to steal the desires of evildoers in his free time, but what I'm focusing on is the high school student part. Throughout the game, you will have the option to build relationships with the characters you encounter and increase your social stats by doing tasks like eating food, cleaning your room, and working part-time jobs. Again, these are not meaningless activities in the sense that they provide nothing. They all grant you points and various stats that will influence the options available to you throughout your playthrough. Rather, I'm referring to the fact that not many people come home after a long day and think, man, I really want to watch my character clean dishes and work out. But if these activities seem so boring and unattractive and take up a considerable amount of your time playing the game, then how did this title turn out so amazing? Well, as I'm sure you've guessed by now, that is the result of the immersion these tasks help provide. They ground you in the rhythm of your character's life. They create routine, ritual, and a deeper connection to the world you're inhabiting. You're not just saving the day, you're living a life. You care about the people around you, the places you pass every day, and even how you spend your afternoons. And when a game can get you to care even about your character's schedule, chores, and part-time job, that's real immersion. Like I said, to me, immersion is about cohesion, the feeling that everything in the game belongs and contributes to a unified experience. In Persona 5, these activities do more than just fill time between missions. They reinforce the idea that at the end of the day, you're just a regular guy, a student, a friend, someone trying to navigate school, work, and relationships, even while being a phantom thief. These meaningless tasks actually play a huge role in how the game shares its world and story. They pull you into their rhythm and make it feel as if you've been dropped into someone else's fully lived life, and that ensures you don't just play Persona 5, instead you get pulled in as far as you can go. Another quality that stuck out to me as a powerful form of immersion is the idea of a living world. What I mean by that is a world that doesn't feel like it was built for just you. A world that has its own rhythms, history, and priorities. A world that feels like it's been existing long before you arrived and will keep going long after you're gone. You're not the reason it was made, you just happened to step into it. And there are two games that absolutely nail this feeling. The first is Elden Ring. From the moment you step into the lands between, there's an overwhelming sense that the world is old. It's broken, wounded, and barely holding itself together, yet it never stops moving. The game doesn't rush to explain anything, there's no guiding hand, no narrator to give you the story. It's just you, a fractured kingdom, and the quiet, haunting feeling that you've entered a place filled with echoes of things you can never fully understand. And that's exactly what pulls you in. Every ruin you stumble into feels like it has a memory. The enemies you find, such as knights rusted in armor and twisted remnants of once great heroes, aren't just placed there as obstacles, they're relics. Their presence tells stories. Why are these knights guarding an empty tomb? Why are these archers protecting this town? And why is that massive dragon sleeping alone in a forgotten lake? The world whispers clues, but never confirms anything, and that mystery is part of what leads to this immersion. The Erdtree looms in the background no matter where you are. It appears divine, but its roots are cracked and its light becomes more unsettling the longer you look at it and the more you learn about what it represents. You start to realize that this world is held together by the remnants of something powerful that long since started to rot. What makes Elden Ring so immersive is how confidently it refuses to put you at the center. You're not a chosen hero with a unique destiny, you're a tarnished like many before you. You're given freedom not just in movement but in understanding. There are entire quests, characters, areas that are massive, complex parts of the game that many players will never even stumble across. The game doesn't stop to highlight them, it doesn't care whether you find them, the world will continue whether you engage with it or not. And that's what makes it feel real. In most games, everything is designed to orbit around you, but in Elden Ring, you orbit around something else, something that's never fully understood to this day. You're not the center of the universe, you're just another tarnished in a graveyard of ambition, a wanderer in a kingdom of broken gods and forgotten glory. The world doesn't tell you its secrets, you have to earn them, and even then, they're never complete. The immersion comes from that feeling of always being a step behind, of piecing together a mosaic with half the tiles missing, and that is what pulls me in so far. Then there's the second title, Cyberpunk 2077. While its structure is far more guided than Elden Ring's, it offers a different but equally powerful take on what a living world can feel like. Night City is noise incarnate. It's a city designed to overwhelm you, with flashing neon signs, traffic jams, billboards covering nearly every surface, and layers upon layers of people just existing. And in the middle of all that noise, you're just another person sitting in that chaos. What really sells the illusion of a living world in Cyberpunk is how it handles its pacing, systems, and status. You're not just watching this world move around you, you're participating in this life you see surrounding you. The city feels like it has a memory. For example, fixers will contact you based on your location or reputation, but not always in a clean and convenient way. You might be in the middle of a main story mission and get a call about a side job halfway across town. It's subtle, but it gives the impression that your presence has consequences and that the world remembers. It's not just a quest log, it's a web of relationships, favors, and debts. And while the consequences aren't always hard-coded into gameplay, the illusion of them can be incredibly effective. Even the phone calls and texts in Cyberpunk do something important. They ground you. Just like in Persona 5, you're not just completing quests, you're maintaining relationships. Panem might message you days after your last mission together, checking in, and Judy might ask to meet. It's those little interactions that make you feel like you're part of a social world, not just a series of scripted scenes. The world doesn't need to bend to you to make you feel important, just being a part of it is enough. When I talk about a living world, I mean a world that doesn't revolve around you, a world that moves forward whether you're there or not. Whether it's the ever-expanding lore of the lands between or the constant sensory bombardment of Night City, both games excel at creating a world where you're not the story, you're just a participant in it. And that feeling that you've stepped into something larger than yourself, that's immersion on an entirely different level. If you want to hear more about my thoughts regarding either Elden Ring or Cyberpunk, I do have separate videos on them that go more into detail. The last idea I want to look at today is how I get immersed in a game through the exploration and discovery of its world. And I'm not just talking about exploration in the traditional sense, moving across a map and checking off icons. I mean player-led exploration, the kind where you decide where to go next, not because a quest marker told you to, but because something in the world itself pulled you towards it. Maybe it was a strange rock formation in the distance, maybe it was a weird glow on top of a mountain, maybe it was just your gut telling you what's over there. No game does this better in my opinion than The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The version of Hyrule in this game feels radically different from both Night City and the lands between, the worlds we just talked about. Night City is reactive and could care less about you, almost like it's alive. The lands between is haunted, decaying, and indifferent to your presence. But in Breath of the Wild, the world doesn't just exist around you, it exists for you. Or maybe more accurately, it's been waiting for you. You matter in this world. You're not a tarnished or mercenary for hire, you're Link, the hero of legend. If you've played any Zelda game before, then you already know the weight of that title. You're the one who stands between peace and calamity, and the world treats you that way, quietly and respectfully. It doesn't throw that importance in your face, it just lets you step into it. And what makes exploration in this game so immersive is how it replicates a feeling that's deeply tied to real life: freedom. In the real world, we can wake up one morning and decide to drive to the mountains, take a walk through the woods, move across the country, or just sit still and do nothing. There's a kind of quiet power in that freedom, the ability to act on impulse, to follow your own curiosity, and Breath of the Wild nails that feeling. The game gives you tools, not instructions. It doesn't say, go here next. It says, here's a world, where do you want to go? And the genius of it is that no matter where you go, the game is ready for you. It's not just vast for the sake of being vast, it's designed with intentional wonder. Every valley, every cliff, every strange structure in the distance is something. Maybe it's a shrine, maybe it's a new kind of enemy, maybe it's just a weird rock hiding a Korok seed. But it rewards you, and it does not always have to be a grand new weapon or a cool new armor set. They can be smaller things like a Korok seed, a hardy radish, or even just a breathtaking view. What matters is that you feel like you didn't waste your time, and it's the process of wandering around, thinking of something to do, actually doing it, and then being happy with your decision that leads to the addictive feeling this world seems to carry. Those small victories and discoveries stack up. They create a rhythm of thought. What should I do next? And when the answer is always whatever I want, and when whatever you choose always leads to something beautiful, curious, or worthwhile, that's when immersion hits its peak. And one of the most subtle but brilliant aspects of this world is you're not just discovering the land, you're rediscovering yourself. You wake up with no memory, no direction, and no idea what the world has become, so your exploration isn't just about geography, it's about identity. The more shrines you find, the more people you help, the more memories you discover, the more you start to remember who you are. You realize that the world is broken because you were gone, and now it's up to you to piece it back together one small step at a time. So yes, this world isn't alive in the same way Night City or the lands between are. It doesn't judge you, it doesn't adapt to you, it simply welcomes you. And in doing so, it lets you lose yourself in discovery. It makes you feel free but not directionless, alone but not isolated, and important but never overpowered. It's a world that says quietly and confidently, go explore, you'll be glad you did. And for me, that's the kind of immersion that sticks, the kind that makes me think about the game even when I'm not playing it, the kind that makes me want to go back again and again, not to complete something, but just to see what happens if I climb that hill, because who knows what might be waiting on the other side. True, deep immersion into a game's world seems almost like magic, but it's not accidental, it's designed, it's intentional. It's the result of hundreds of smart, often invisible choices by developers who seek to draw you into their game as far as you can go. To me, immersion isn't about losing yourself, it's about finding something. Finding a rhythm, a role, or even a world that could exist without you. When a game can truly immerse you, when it can make you feel like you've truly been somewhere, like you lived a life that mattered, it scratches an itch that players often have. The itch to belong in another world and to experience things that you couldn't before. At the end of the day, immersion is also personal, and everyone is bound to have different games that immerse them more than others. I know that the games I talked about today to illustrate the topics I chose are certainly not the only examples that can be found, and I would love to hear about your experiences with the games you played and what makes you feel immersed in the worlds they feature. While I have certainly played an unhealthy amount of games, there are definitely a lot that did not make the video, as I either thought the one I chose fits better or maybe I've never played it before, so again, please share any thoughts you might have in the comments. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content featuring my thoughts, opinions, and experiences on a variety of games and themes, please consider liking and subscribing as I have a lot more planned. With that, thank you all for watching, and until next time.